Hi guys, it's Pavi back with another video. Wanted to do a quick one today just to really do a quick summary of Djokovic in Miami and also a quick preview for Djokovic in Monte Carlo. So we're having back-to-back Masters. It's an exciting time of the season. It goes from hard to clay, but really just wanted to start off to talk about how well Novak Djokovic did in Miami. Obviously, there was a lot of doubts over him going into Miami after his early exit in Indian Wells and his early exit in Doha. And that followed, obviously, him retiring from his match against Zverev. So he'd lost three matches in a row, which he hadn't done for a very long time. So all the doom gloomers were out and saying he's done, retirement is on, and what I was kind of saying before the tournament was that Doha and Indian Wells came along really quickly for Djokovic post his hamstring tear. And I still believe that he did Doha and Indian Wells primarily to appease sponsorship requirements, various publicity and promotion that he had to do there. I don't think he was 100% fit. It was still too soon for me after his tear. And that showed, he didn't look match fit. He didn't look he looked a little bit off the pace. So I think I mentioned that in both Doha and Indian Wells is that he was hitting the ball late. And that would mean, for me, would mean that he wasn't 100% fit, but also not match fit. There's one thing being fit, but there's another thing being match fit when you're playing competitively against top pros across the world. So I wasn't too concerned about that. I said before Miami that I was looking for him to get a couple of wins and just show that he's kind of back building towards the clay court season as a that would have been his priority. But he exceeded my expectations, and were it was not for an eye infection, he would have won Miami quite comfortably, in my opinion. But we'll start off with his Miami tournament. He started off against Rinky Hijikaka and beat him in two tight kind of tie breaks. It was a tough match, but Djokovic was already serving a lot better than he was in the whole of the Indian Wells. So he was hitting down aces for fun. He won that in straight sets. He then went on to beat Carabelli again in straight sets. The second set was a bit more of a struggle. That was also a tie break after he won the next one 6-1. But the next three games were what gave me and so many Djokovic fans, and not just Djokovic fans, Djokovic himself, the confidence that he is really back paying elite tennis. So he went on and played and beat Musetti, top 20 player. He followed that up with Korda, another top 20 player, and then Dimitrov just outside the top 10. He won those three matches playing some of the best tennis that he's played, that even himself he admitted it was the best tennis that he'd played for a while. Particularly against Musetti, there was a whole set where he didn't make a single forced error, which is unthinkable. His serving rating was high as it's been over for 10 years. His forehand was rated at 9.4 for the tournament. He was really excelling, and Djokovic himself, I think he probably surprised himself, but he was relaxed and said he didn't perhaps expect him to be at such a high level so early into the season, but he was doing really well. Andy Murray was fully engaged and fully behind Djokovic, and really worked hard on his serve, and you could kind of tell, and the whole event was brilliant. You had Messi kind of watching and supporting Djokovic. You had loads of stars that came, and Djokovic kind of incorporated the tennis, but he had a great time off court as well. And he said after the event that it was a fantastic event. But we'll go to the final now against Berrettini, and not against Berrettini, I did quite in my mind. Obviously against his icon and a player that really looks up to him, 19-year-old Jacob Mensik. And it was a battle, but everyone knew before that match started that Djokovic all of a sudden had quite a big eye problem, and it appears to be a stye or some sort of infection, which Djokovic has now confirmed the other day. But Jacob Mansik has got one of the biggest serves in the game. He serves at about 130, 135 miles an hour. If one of your eyes is closing shut, it doesn't take you a rocket scientist to figure out that you're going to be reading that serve and reading that ball a little bit low. And tennis is about fractions. And that's all it was. Djokovic really couldn't get into the Berrettini serve. Sorry, keep saying Berrettini. Into the Mensik serve. And he lost 7-6, 7-6. You know, it was an unfortunate day. There was a lot of waiting around for the match. So for us in the UK, I waited and waited. I think I kind of made it for the first set. Then it was about 4 a.m. and I had to be up at 7 a.m. in the morning, so I couldn't watch all the match. And it was unfortunate because you know the crowds were waiting, the fans were waiting, the nervous tension was building up. And it was a bit of an anticlimax in the end. Obviously, Mensik went on to win 7-6, 7-6. Djokovic went the whole set, whole event, where the only two sets that he lost were those against Mensik, and they were both on tiebreak. So yeah, sad that he didn't get his 100th one. But you know, when people say, "Oh, you know, Djokovic is done," they can't really say that now. They saw what he did. Djokovic knows himself that he's capable of producing that elite level tennis, and you know, yes, there's no guarantee that if he didn't have his eye, he would have beaten Mensik, but there would have been a lot better chance of him beating Mensik had he not had this unfortunate eye injury and eye infection, which happens. It's part and parcel of sport. That's why I'm really, really pleased that Djokovic has got 24 Grand Slams, because you just never know in sport when an injury can curtail your career. I mean, you just have to look at the likes of Delpo and Murray. You know, really, they were cut short with career-changing injuries in the late 20s. You know, still at a very, very young age. So, you know, that is part and parcel of sport. So, yes, I was disappointed that he didn't win it, but my disappointment was more than compounded with happiness and pride and excitement, really, that Djokovic has proven that he is back playing elite level tennis. And you know, had he'd not had that eye infection, I think he would have won Miami without losing a single set. But you know, he got to the final, which was higher, much better expectations than what I expected. And now it's the quick transition. So we weren't 100% sure whether he was going to go to Monaco, but he's subsequently announced that he's actually playing Monaco, Madrid, Rome, Roland Garros. So he's got one of the most busiest clay court seasons that he's had, if he does go on and play all of those that he's had for many, many years. But you know, he's still got this problem with the style. So the problem with the turnover from Miami to Monaco, it's great having back-to-back Masters, but it doesn't give you a lot of time to recover. So Djokovic is still suffering from that. He was going to see a doctor yesterday, and he is now scheduled to play Alejandro Tabilo tomorrow in Monte Carlo. It's third on court the afternoon. You know, looking at his practice, he's practicing, but his pictures still show that he's still got this remnants of this eye infection. So, you know, again, my expectations due to that are pretty low, but also the fact that he hasn't played on clay. He's going to be adjusting from that. We all know from previous seasons and what Djokovic tells us that he really kind of builds himself up to try and be in peak condition for the Grand Slam. So I'm not expecting peak Djokovic here yet, but I'm expecting him to do okay. You know, Tabile's a tough match. A lot of people may remember that he had that almost famous match with Mute where he had all the Chilean support in Miami, and he managed to win a really, really good match against Corentin Mute in Miami. So he's back off a good win. He's also had the benefit of playing in round one. So he actually beat Stan Wawrinka, coming from 1-3 down in the final set. And you know, we all know, even though Stan's now 40, we all know what a brilliant player he is on clay. You know, a lot of people were thinking it could be a Djokovic-Wawrinka matchup again. That would have been, you know, 26, 27 matches that they've had in their careers. But Tabilo wasn't to be denied, so he's going to be a very dangerous player. He's ranked 32, I believe. So he, you know, he's not. Not someone that you know we can expect to kind of just turn up and win. We're going to have to fight for that. Djokovic is going to have to grind. He's going to have to slide. He's going to have to adjust his game. He's going to have to hope that his eye is sufficient enough to be able to read the Tabilo serve and the ground stroke. So yeah, very little expectations for me in Monaco. Djokovic, like Miami, he doesn't really do well in Monte Carlo. In Miami, it was his best performance there in 9 years. In Monte Carlo in the last few years, he's had early exits a lot of the time. So, we don't know how he is going to do this week. I think Jill Gross predicted him to win Monaco. I think that's being a little bit optimistic because he hasn't got a particularly good record with Monaco. I don't think he's 100% fit with his eye, and it's a really, really quick turnaround from hard to clay. But I expect him to be competitive. As I said, I'm really excited after watching the Miami Masters to see Djokovic back. He was back, pumped, focused. The Novak Djokovic we know and love. So yeah, just really looking forward to Monte Carlo now. Tennis is back. Everyone's got smiles on their faces. A record attendance at Miami. We heard all the doomslayers saying, "Oh, Yannick Sinner is, without him, tennis doesn't exist." Since he's not been played, they've had record attendances, football in Indian Wells and Miami, which completely puts that theory that Yannick Sinner is needed for tennis out of the bin, really, because the figures speak for themselves. And that is really, really good for me as well, just to kind of focus on tennis. There's all this stuff going on in the background. I think a lot of good stuff as well. Let's just talk a little bit about what's happened. Obviously, I've done a video. My last video was about the PTPA lawsuits, which I think is a phenomenal thing. But let's just look at the effect that those PTP lawsuits have already had. The ATP CEO, Massimo Cavelli, suddenly announced his resignation from the job, and not many questions asked by the media as well. It was a shock. He wasn't expected to leave. We've had the top 20 players all write to the Grand Slams saying that we want a bigger share of prize money because we don't believe you're giving us what we deserve. So, there's a lot of things that are already happening in and off on and off court with tennis, and the PTPA have started this, and they have done exactly what they needed to do. They've started to ruffle some feathers. Chickens are going to come home to roost. Make no mistake about that. The chickens are coming home to roost, and that's not just for the people at the ATP, the ITIA. It's all of the media as well that protect these organisations and establishments for many, many years. The chickens are coming home to roost. There's going to be a lot more stuff that's going to come out. And just really excited on and off court at the moment to see what transpires. Tennis is an exciting place at the moment, but a lot of people are fighting back. And the players are fighting back. There's a handful of players, we won't name them, but we already know, that are protected by the establishment. They're not going to fight back, but it's had an impact on a lot of players, and a lot of players are not happy with what's going on. And that's one of the reasons why the PTPA issued those lawsuits against all of the governing bodies in tennis. Over 200 people signed. So however Mark Petchey or Andy Roddick or any of those Muppets want to or puppets or Muppets, probably both actually, want to protect their paymasters and kind of cover over the cracks. We can see what's happening now, and people will not listen to their lies and propaganda anymore. So yeah, all good. As I said, on a personal point of view, I'm back playing paddle and tennis again. I was injured for a few months. During the winter months, I'd broke my foot, which was really annoying and frustrating. But it meant I was able to spend more time on social media, so I haven't been able to get that many regular videos out as I was when I was injured, because I'd rather spend my time on court, back getting ready for my season, the club season, which is starting very, very soon as well. So hope you guys are all well. 15 minutes for me, that's not too bad. I've I haven't gone on too much, but yeah, just looking forward to Djokovic in Monte Carlo. He knows the conditions really, really well. Let's hope his eye is better, and let's be positive. Let's be blessed that we're getting to see Djokovic play. He's enjoying himself. There's not too much pressure on him. There's not too much pressure on him as a fan. If he loses, he loses. If he wins, he wins. But let's just enjoy the moment and the fact that he is still playing at a very high level of tennis. And, you know, if you just look at all the other of his peers, you know, Federer's now retired, Nadal's retired, Andy Murray's retired, Team Del Potro's retired. These are all those players that he's kind of grown up with and played against, and Djokovic is still going strong and still playing a very, very high level of tennis. So let's be blessed with that. And, you know, let's look forward to see how he gets on in Monte Carlo and for the rest of the clay court season. God bless to all of you. Hope you guys are all well. If you're in the UK, and hope you're enjoying the sun. It's very unseasonably hot at the moment, and I'm loving that. So, yeah, all the best. Take care, and I'll be back with a video soon. Peace out.